Welcome to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. This show is about Plymouth County real estate. This show is being taped in December. We're going to talk about the November recording numbers at the registry. I have a great guest in the second segment, Realtor Bill Callahan. And we'll be talking about what has been happening in the real estate market right now. And then I'm going to talk about some of our county and colony history. So let's get right to our numbers. The first bar chart you're going to see is of deeds. Deeds are sales of property. The real estate market has really slowed down with higher interest rates. There were only 664 deeds recorded in November, less than the 695 recorded in October, 27% less than last year that was recorded November 21, and year-to-date down 16%. You're going to see an image coming up of all the sales in Plymouth County for every one of our 27 communities, alphabetically from Abington to Whitman, and every community has had sales. The largest communities have been, for number of sales, have been Plymouth and Brockton in that order. Everyone has had sales all the way down to our smallest community of Plimpton. So there is activity else everywhere, although again, the impact of mortgage rates have happened everywhere. And the biggest place you're going to see the drop in mortgage rates is in mortgages. So if you look at that sliding scale in that bar chart, you can see what I'm talking about. There were 1,205 mortgages recorded in November, less than the 1,275 in October, but 55% less than the 2,653 mortgages recorded in November of 2021. Year to date, the number of mortgages recorded is down 46%. So that is where we've seen the biggest decline in recordings, our mortgages. We continue to track foreclosure deeds and foreclosure notices very closely. There really hasn't been a real uptick as of late. There was a moratorium on foreclosures in place during a COVID period, and those companies that are foreclosing are just now getting on track. You'll notice if you look at the legal section of your local newspaper, you're starting to see more of those notices of sale. However, foreclosure deeds are still down. There were only 9 foreclosure deeds in November of 2022. A foreclosure deed is when a lender has taken back the title to a property from the owner, usually for non-payment. There were less than the 12 foreclosure deeds in October, but 13% more than the 8 foreclosure deeds in November of 21. Year to date, because of the historic lows, last year it's up 49%. We'll continue to see more foreclosure deeds going forward. In a precursor to that, are foreclosure notices. A foreclosure notice is the first document that we see at the registry that shows someone's in trouble. If you're having difficulty paying your mortgage, make sure you reach out to a federal housing counselor, NeighborWorks, for example, and they try to help people through their problems. It could be a medical emergency that caused your problem. It could be a lost job, could be a lost second income. But if you wait, you're going to find yourself in more difficulty. So make sure you get right on that. There were 45 foreclosure notices recorded in November, less than the 47 in October, 18% more than last November, and year to date, 112% more than last year. You're seeing a list here of all the foreclosures by community, all the way from Abington to Whitman again, and you'll see the orders and notices are starting to pick up, though you're still seeing a lot of zeros. Brockton had 7 orders of notice, Plymouth had 6, Wareham had 5. In the days when there were difficulty, those were always the leading communities. So be aware that we offer a free fraud alert. There's a lot of people trying to take advantage of your asset, particularly your real estate. If you sign up online with our fraud alert, go to our resource section on our homepage of the Registry of Deeds, PlymouthDeeds.org. Click on resources, go to fraud alert. If you enter your email, anytime there is a recording under your name, you'll get an email, and you can figure out whether it's something that should have gone on record, like the payoff of a mortgage, a discharge we call it, or something that you ought to jump on right away. There are scams out there that people will try to get you to pay a lot of money to get a copy of your deed. Don't do that. You can get a copy of your deed for $1 a page at one of our offices. There's also this semi-scam out there that the Attorney General has just filed a lawsuit about. There's this company that'll offer you a small payment, like $1,000 or $1,500, but you lock in with that company for a long period of time to automatically be your realtor. That's what you're getting. That's what you're getting the money for, to allow them to have an exclusive contract with you to be your realtor. And it's a lien on your property. It causes great problems on refinances, just be very aware what you do with your real estate. I have a great guest coming up on the next segment, Bill Callahan of Callahan Realty, Keller Williams Real Estate. We'll be talking about real estate currently and what we can expect going into next year. So we'll see you in the next segment. Welcome back to the Register's Report. My name is John Buckley. I'm the Register of Deeds of Plymouth County. I have a great repeat guest on my show. This is my last show in the calendar year. It's a holiday show. And who else to be a great guest but Bill Callahan, who really enjoys the holidays. Bill, great to see you again.
Nice to see you, John.
Yeah.
Thank you. We finish up the
So
year.
we always have fun when we're talking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I really enjoy being part of it.
So why don't you tell everybody a little bit, I know you've been a guest before, how you found your way into the real estate business.
My father was in the real estate business he joined my grandfather in 52. We moved back here in 56. My grandfather had a stroke. Then I was working for Knapp Shoe Company. My father didn't want me to go to work in the real estate business till I learned the sales business. And I did learn that through Knapp Shoe Company, selling safety shoes, calling on industry, General Motors, all kinds of different type of industry. I was in Texas for 7 years, oil industry, that kind of thing. Came back, that thing was kind of sliding, going the other way, and I joined my father. I was joking the other day. I joined my father in July of '86. I got married in August of '86, and I had to go work at the track part-time to have money.
Oh, I understand. It takes a while to get started.
It takes a while to get your feet on the ground and kind of develop a little book of business kind of a thing. But it was kind of after 2 years, I was ready. I let that go when I was full-time. But yeah, so I joined my father back in '86.
Great. So what have you seen over the course of this year? As I mentioned earlier in the program, our numbers are down significantly over last year.
Yeah. Big change this year. The year of change. Not all good, not all positive, but in the real estate business, we have to live with change, because if you don't, you'll be, buyers will lose out. So you have to change whatever you're doing. If you're a seller, you have to listen to the realtor's advice about pricing the house properly. If you're a buyer, you got to hang in there. Maybe you need a different financing program. Fixed rates today are so high, there's going to be, now there's adjustable rate mortgages. Sales, the inventory, closed sales are down over the year 30%. Got the cost I have here, the cost of financing is up 70%, cost of the housing costs. So it's definitely a challenging market going to the new year, and the inventory is down. So there's fewer people putting the house on the market. So the price change has changed a little bit. You know, we're talking about prices coming down, but there's not a glut of inventory either. People say, well, I'll wait and there'll be a lot of houses. Well, right now, that's not true. So we're in for change.
Yeah, clearly, there's been a drop in activity at our office in the number of recordings, and that's reflective of, you know, the higher interest rates wiped out the refinance market, and eventually it's been bit by bit. The Federal Reserve has laid out real estate as a target, and it's definitely worked. So.
Well, you can't have 15% appreciation per year and cumulatively like 60, 70% over 5 or 6 years.
Right.
It's unsustainable. So we kind of knew it was coming. And any realtor or any real estate agent that's not prepared for it is just kidding themselves. So,
but there are still people looking to downsize or upsize.
Right.
So what do you advise a potential buyer in this marketplace to do?
I advise every potential buyer not to quit on this, just to hang in there, save as much money as you can, and do your homework. You know, check. Mass Save just had a $50,000 grant program, and you're qualified based on income. You might not get all 50, but you can get 30. And Mass Save doesn't have it anymore, but it's still out there. That money, that grant money's still out there, and you can go through the Mass Realtors and get and find out how to get it. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, the adjustable rate mortgage is going to be very popular now. So you might get 5%. You might get a tad under 5%. So any buyer should do their homework and find a program that fits them. Don't quit on it, because there's going to be some houses coming out there, and be prepared, you know, because when they price it, they're going to price it to today's market, not a year ago.
So talk a little bit about the adjustable rate mortgages, because I know there are different versions of it. You can do it for like a 3 or 4 year and a cap on the step and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that they'll be the only ones I've seen so far, the 5-year arms.
Yeah. But
they'll come out with a 1 year and a 3 year.
Yeah.
The biggest word of caution you can give to anybody in an adjustable rate mortgage is what is the rate, the change in the rate based on? Back in the 08 and 09, we had that LIBOR rate, and nobody knew what a LIBOR rate was. And to this day, I cannot tell you. London and something. But you want it tied to like the T-bill, okay? And it'll adjust, you know, it'll adjust every year, every 2 years, or every 3 years. So that's what's important. And then you know, it expires, say, in 5 years or 3 years. And so you have to refinance again. So typically, you're safer with like a 5-year arm, you know? Okay. It might adjust every year, but it can only adjust a certain amount.
Cap, yeah.
Yeah, it's capped out at a point per year.
Right.
So it starts at 4.75, might go to 6.75, something within that period of time. And then be prepared to, whatever the program is then, be prepared to refinance it then.
So let's talk about sellers. A lot of sellers are very hesitant to list because they're not sure they're going to find a place to go.
Correct.
How do you deal with that?
Well, they can't find a place to go, and can they afford the place to go to?
Yeah.
You know, that's the question.
Yeah.
They might be out there, but it's now they're going to get a 6% rate or whatever it is. So the affordability factor affects that choice. So again, be informed. You know, if somebody's selling their house, I put them on I do two things. If they're looking at, let's say they're selling in Brockton, they want to go to Plymouth. So they're on a search in Plymouth for what's out there. And I put them on a search in Brockton so they see what's happening in Brockton. I just did that with a house on Callahan Road this past fall. And the seller said, geez, I got to do something with the price of my house. I see these other houses are better than mine, and they're cheaper. So they got to be well informed where they're at and where they're going.
Well, the world has changed from years ago. There's so much available online. People are educated much more so
Right.
because you can pull it right up with all
Right.
these companies that offer this information.
You
over the
can
internet.
get the listing information. You can go. You can see the house through Google, and people Google around. They check out the neighborhood. They check out the house. There's all kinds of information about school systems, neighborhoods, information on the towns you're moving to, tax rates, all that type of thing. It's so easily available, and even the financing that's available online. Any mortgage company you're doing business with, they all have their own mobile apps, so you don't have to sit down at a laptop. You might have Harbor One mortgage app, or Northeastern Savings Bank. They all have it, which makes it so much easier.
So where do you see us making the turn into the new year? It doesn't seem like the rates are going anywhere except for up, according to the Federal Reserve meeting notes.
Yeah. So I'm every client I work with today. I met with an attorney, and he said, "Put that house on the market. What are we going to put on it?" Well, Jim, the house that we just did, very similar house, was going to be $539 a year ago. It's $479 today.
Yeah.
And he said, "That's good." And I put that one I'm discussing that's today. It's under agreement at $470.
Wow.
So you just have to adjust to the market.
And that's what we'll be seeing as we go,
You're gonna
at least through the
definitely see that.
first
You're gonna definitely
quarter
see that.
of the new year.
Yeah, I well into the new year, we're going to see this. I think there's the discussion of another rate increase early in '23, and that may not be the end of it. I mean, it's hard to predict, right? But
So I know we've had conversations about first-time home buyers in the past, and we may well, at one of our next shows, have one of your
yeah,
accomplishments, getting someone in the house, come and talk to us about their experience.
my youngest daughter, yes.
Yeah, that'd be a great.
And she
to
was,
hear
that's a
from her
good
story.
example, because I think that would be a good show, because she was so determined. She looked all over the Cape. She looked all up and down Route 3. And I came across something in Brockton, and it was perfect. And she got in. And she got in with 3% down, and she got a fixed rate mortgage. She made it just by the skin of her teeth, because she put an application in June, and she found the house like in late June.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting if we can get her scheduled to allow her to come into the show.
I think it would be real informative, because
Yeah.
she's 26, and to tell other young people what she went through.
Yeah.
And she had some ups and downs during the whole thing.
Yeah.
Heating system, the inspection issues, they had to get rid of the heating system. She went through Mass Save. She can discuss the whole Mass Save program. Fixing things. The hardwood floor guy.
Well, it sounds like it's,
Yeah.
it's an interesting
Yeah,
journey.
she had quite a
Yeah.
story.
Great. So
We're having Christmas at our house.
Oh,
We're gonna
oh,
not
great.
Christmas dinner, but we're going to mobile. Mary's house at 10, Ann's house at 12:30.
okay, well, a movable feast.
Movable feast. That's what it is. Yes. Yeah.
Great. So can you share your contact information?
Absolutely.
viewers?
It's, so Bill Callahan. I'm at the Keller Williams at everybody calls it the Pentagon. It's the 5-sided building on Route 138. And they're fixing it up, and they have some tenants in there now. Everybody says, is there anybody in there? And phone number is 508-583-8000.
So for everyone making their New Year's resolution
Yeah.
to get into a home,
Yes.
give them some experience advice.
Yeah. Save, 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 save. Credit, credit, credit. 600's not good. 750's good. 800's great. Save, save, save. Don't borrow any money. Pay your debts off.
And last but not least, I know you're a great promoter of your
I
organization
am.
for being a realtor. And I've always asked you to explain why it's so important.
It's the largest private professional trade association in the country. I'm a local realtor with the Racing Board out of New Bedford and Taunton, and it includes Brockton. Member of the Mass Association of Realtors and the National Association of Realtors. And we promote code of ethics, continued education, neighborhood community involvement, and it's a great organization.
Yeah, the continuing education that you offer is so important because we're in a world that is changing every single day.
We're over and above the state requirements
Right,
is what we do for professional education.
Right.
And the code of ethics is very important.
Yeah,
And we lobby on behalf of consumers, not just the Realtor Association. We lobby on behalf of consumers. Affordable housing is a very big issue for the Realtor Association. Very
well,
big.
clearly our new governor
Yeah.
is making that a priority. Every community that I know of realizes that they have people who can't afford to live in some of their properties, and that's certainly going to be a real hot issue.
The biggest
in
issue is a
2023.
change in the zoning. We want to relax some of these zoning changes. Some towns have no multifamily zoning,
Right.
none whatsoever.
Right. And the in-law, what is the
That's what
legal
they're
term
talking
for that?
about.
Is
Allowing in-law, maybe 1,000 square feet,
right.
secondary apartment type thing,
right.
yes. And they're working on it, and our association working with not only Mayor Wu, but the governor.
Right.
And Charlie Baker has said, he's listened. He's
been promoting
he's been good
that,
at it.
that
yes.
issue.
He's very,
And I know the
very
new
good at
governor is also
it. Yeah, it was in today's
really,
Globe. Yes.
really promoting housing. Well, have a great holiday season,
Merry Christmas.
Always good to see you,
And a
and-
happy, healthy
and-
New Year.
and perhaps we can bring that special guest on in January.
Celebrate 2023.
Okay. Great, Bill. Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Register's Report. Again, my name is John Buckley. I'm the Plymouth County Register of Deeds. I want to thank Bill Callahan for the great job he did in describing our current situation in real estate. It's a lot different than it was a year ago. All things are in cycles in real estate, and we're certainly in a down cycle. The Federal Reserve wanted real estate to slow down, so they bumped up interest rates, and it's having an effect. In this segment of the show, we do something lighter in nature. We talk about some of our great county and colony history. The holidays for the month were National Cookie Day on the 4th, Pearl Harbor Day on the 7th, National Bill of Rights Day on the 15th. Hanukkah started on the 18th. The winter solstice, the beginning of winter, started on the 21st. Christmas is the 25th, and New Year's Day on the 31st. So let's go right to some of our great county history related to the holiday. Edaville Railroad is back open and running. It was derived, the name Edaville was derived from the owner at the time, Ellis Atwood, EDA, born in Carver, was in the cranberry business, and he bought a railroad, narrow gauge railroad of steam engines in Maine, and put them on his 210 acres of bogs. He gave train rides to his personal friends. In 1947, the line was completed, and his working freight railroad became a popular attraction for visitors. At the time of his death in 1950, Edaville Railroad had grown into a major tourist destination, particularly during the Christmas season. There have been ups and downs for the program of the Edaville Railroad, but it has a new owner and is up and running and still providing great source of joy to many young families across Massachusetts. The next county record we're going to talk about is Edward Rose Snow. Many people are aware of the tradition of the Flying Santas. The Flying Santas flew up in planes and dropped gifts to the families of the lighthouse keepers throughout Massachusetts and the islands. Edward Rose Snow was a well-known author and historian. From Marshfield, he wrote over 100 books, stories of shipwrecks, pirates, buccaneers, and lighthouses. He's most famous because he carried on the tradition of the Flying Santa for over 40 years. Every Christmas, He had piloted a small plane and dropped off wrapped gifts to lighthouse keepers and their families. He was a dedicated preservationist and lover of the Boston Harbor Islands, and there's a plaque dedicated to him on Warren Island, on George's Island at Fort Warren. There's a little side story of him. One day he dropped a gift to a lighthouse keeper's daughter. It was a doll. The arm broke on the doll, so when spring came, Mr. Rowe took a boat out and gave her a replacement doll. The next one that many people are aware of is James Edgar. James Edgar began the history of the department store Santa Claus. He had a store in Brockton. He originally came from Edinburgh, Scotland. He used to dress up as George Washington and other people, but when there was a popular cartoon that came up with a new Santa Claus, he dressed as Santa Claus, and he was the first department store Santa Claus well before Macy's and others. People came from miles around to see him, and every year at the Brockton holiday parade, the Christmas parade, there was a replica of Santa Claus riding at the end of the parade. Certainly a great Brockton and American tradition. And last but not least, you're going to see a Plymouth Colony record, a significant record for us because it was the establishment of a recording system for land records. In 1636 in the Book of Laws, they codified the transition from common ownership to private property. And every lease and mortgage had to be approved by the governor, committed to public record, and that is how our real estate system came about. On the last Friday of the month of December, we will have that record on display at the Plymouth Registry at 50 Aubrey Street in Plymouth. I invite you to come and take a look at that. I want to thank Lorna Green Baker and Christine Richards from our office in helping me put this show together. Again, it's my 146th show, taped by Brockton Cable Access. We share this with local access providers. We had great help today from Emma Reardon and Athena Grant from Brockton Cable Access. I want to thank them for their help. I want to thank you for joining me. I wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we'll see you in January. Be safe, be careful, be healthy. Thank you.